Hello friends, chosen ones, welcome back to the mountains. In this video we're gonna talk if you're feeling like you're stuck, like you're making a lot of effort but you're not getting any results in your life, and if, or on the other hand, if you feel like you are very in tune with spiritual energies and you feel very allowing and so forth, very intuitive, but you don't feel like you're getting any results, then this video will help you to balance your masculine and feminine energies within and bring forth the divine masculine and the divine feminine within you, okay? This is a really important subject because what we see mostly is in the world is excessive sort of male energy, very male-oriented, dominant kind of world where the 9 to 5, the scientific mind, the rational mind, all that has sort of taken control of the hierarchies and so forth, and how society is governed and so forth. And in spirituality, it's the other way around. It's like the divine feminine has taken over. We're going to talk about what that means and so forth, and what that means for you, for the individual, and how you can balance your energies, okay? My name is Morten. I'm a shaman and a mystic, and I've been doing very deep consciousness work for the last 2 decades or so. And recently, a few months ago, I had a permanent shift. And what happened to me in that permanent shift is that my masculine and feminine energies got really well balanced, okay? And that was really unexpected. It's not, I had been getting messages like that my divine masculine was coming from me. And, I could sort of sense the need for that in my life, but that it would come in that permanent shift, that was a surprise. I didn't expect that, okay? I thought it was something that I would have to just work on myself. But there is a divine support for these kind of things. And so I'll get into it. So yes, we see it in the world. There is this very male-oriented, like paternalistic society that most of us grew up in. It's changing, and feminism has been sort of fighting for the women's rights and also the female energy to be getting back the power, okay? And it has worked to a large degree, and we can see that at least in the Western countries and so forth, but pretty much everywhere, there are improvements. But this is not so much about the external, it's just to show the external as a mirror of the internal. And I think when you follow spirituality in a serious way and with a really good intention to really purify yourself and to be the best version of yourself, these things will sort of happen more or less naturally, and you don't really have to worry about it. But I think giving you this sort of map, okay, what I'm talking about, the words, the models I'm using, the masculine and feminine energies, these are sort of maps, okay? The only way to really know these things is to feel it within yourself in the present moment, right here and now. But this map sort of that I'm presenting to you, it will give you some guidance. But my point is, if the words don't match sort of how you feel or so on, then maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. So you could switch the words around and the model around. It's not so important. The important thing is the underlying frequency, okay? And the key for me is they need to be balanced, okay? And of course, you can be a man with more feminine expression of your energy. You can be balanced, but you can choose to be balanced more that way. That can feel more comfortable to you. Or you could be a woman leaning more masculine, or whichever way you want, It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're authentic, that you're expressing your authentic self, and that these energies are balanced in themselves, okay? So the masculine energy needs to be balanced, not to be too excessive, too much efforting, too much taking action, struggling, fighting, trying to control, trying to be dominant, and violent, all these sides, they're excesses. They're like when the masculine goes into overdrive and becomes too much. And the suppression of the masculine, it starts to resemble more of the feminine, okay? It becomes more soft and intuitive, like overly to the point where the masculine is sort of gone, you know, and it becomes sort of, it's asking almost like for the masculine to come forth from outside, you know, to compensate. So this is where we get into these kind of out of balance relationships, both within and without. When these energies are not in alignment, then you'll see all these different kinds of patterns that start to take shape. And you know, in some cases, like codependent relationships, it's a bit about that. It's about the masculine and feminine within the individuals not being balanced within the relationship, okay? And then we get into the divine or the feminine energy, okay? So the excesses of the feminine would be being overly emotional and chaotic and fear-based, trying to prevent, like over-feathering the nest, that kind of thing, where you're being extremely protective and you don't allow things anymore, okay? And the suppressed divine, or the suppressed feminine energy would be where it's more becoming like the male, okay? So it's funny, the suppressed female energy becomes more like the male energy. So it's trying to embody it, but it's not really supposed to do that. So then you get into a sort of a feminine that's more about logic, about struggling, about trying to take action, but it's not coming from a balanced place. So yeah, so you can sort of see where the excesses are, where it's too much or too little. And then when it's in alignment, so what happens is when you balance your feminine and your masculine individually, then what comes out of that is divine feminine and divine masculine, okay? So divine feminine is nurturing. It creates a structure around itself that allows for, things, people and environment and everything to develop in a beautiful way, in its own way that it wants to express itself. The feminine is about structure a lot, and it's kind of counterintuitive because the male-dominated society we have still to some degree is very much creating the structure, okay? But it's not quite how it's supposed to be. And when you're in nature a lot, you get more of a feeling of the feminine structure, okay? How everything is sort of just doing its thing and it's just beautiful, it just works. And it works in this organic way that's not very logical all the time, There is a deeper logic to it, of course, as with everything, but it's more of like a quantum kind of logic. It doesn't always make sense. It's more intuitive. Okay, so the divine masculine, on the other hand, is sort of what lives inside that feminine structure, okay? So it's the one that explores, it's the one who goes out into the world and does things and tries new things and boldly overcomes fears and these kind of things. And of course, I'm not saying that that's just for men, and it's the same like this old stereotype of the woman is home, taking care of the home, creating a safe structure for the children, and the man is out hunting and, I mean, yes, this is sort of what I'm talking about, but I'm not saying that only men are hunters or only women are home nurturers, okay? This is up to the individual how you want to balance these energies. It's very important, but if we're talking about feminine and masculine, that's sort of the difference, right? But we all have those energies, and the way we balance and express those, in ourselves, that's up to us, but what I'm talking about is being in alignment, okay? Those energies in alignment becomes very powerful, okay? And of course, that's a deep, long journey of healing and of awakening, and there's a lot that goes into it, okay? But I just want to give you like an outline of this idea because it's very powerful. Some of the people that I'm working with one-on-one, we're talking about these things and we're starting to experiment with these things, and it's very powerful, okay? Just like it has been for me. So let's go into more specific examples. So for me, what I see is that we're coming out of this sort of overly masculine, excessive masculine structure in society. And the way I grew up, like I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to be like a peacekeeping soldier and go to different war zones and help. That's how I grew up as a boy, kind of. And first I wanted to be a knight or a cowboy, and all these things. And and then I went to the military, okay, and I realized, like, whoa, this place is so out of balance. This is so insane. I got to really see this excess masculinity up front. We were about 500 recruits in my regiment, and I was the only vegetarian. Yeah, they made fun of me, all right. It was a really interesting experience, but yeah, very tough. Not at all what I expected, And right after that, or actually before that, is when I started getting into Vipassana meditation. And then coming out of that is when I went really deep into Vipassana meditation. So it was really bizarre contrast for me. But so I came from that, and I was very soft when I was a kid. I grew up. My father was working a lot, but I was mostly with my mother, and I had 2 sisters, and I didn't really understand masculinity in a healthy way. It took me a long time to figure that out and to find really strong examples of masculinity and like balanced masculinity. Not the ones who are like, yeah, we're making the most effort and we're struggling, we're going to the gym 5 times a week and we're building businesses, we're doing this stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's not that, okay? That's like excessive. There's no, like, you have to balance that with the feminine side, but also, yeah, it's, so I went into this meditation, right? And Buddhism and meditation, yeah, the structure is sort of masculine and paternalistic because those societies where it comes from, like India and Burma, they are that way, or most of Asia, I would say. Especially, where those traditions were kept and where they came out 2,500 years ago and so forth from Buddha and so on. So you have that very paternalistic structure, but actually the teaching itself is very, very feminine. Okay, it's all about letting go and about, understanding the deeper layers of reality, how nature works, and how you work as an energetic being and so forth, and being very allowing, and also, serving a lot, being very, becoming sort of a useful cog in the bigger machinery. So it's sort of, that's kind of where it gets to an unhealthy way for me, because and I think this is a lot what the excessive masculine has done to the divine feminine, is to kind of keep people as slaves, So you use that spiritual framework, and it is true to a large extent, and it will help you to a large extent, but it's like you get trapped in that, okay? Because the masculine structure will make you very feminine, divinely feminine even, but you need sort of the masculine balance to be able to push through this old structures and the fears of going out on your own and exploring yourself and all this, which is eventually what I did. And the funny thing is, that's when I met my wife, okay? So when my wife came into my life, then she became a structure for me. So I could leave this sort of Vipassana kind of paternalistic structure and be more free, thanks to her, because she gave me that confidence and nurturing that I needed, okay, to be able to do that. So that's why I made a video about that, how I manifested my soul partner and how much that meant to me. And that's sort of why, okay, because I had to break free from that way of being and of thinking and so on. And now, since I had my permanent shift, the masculine now is coming out. So with all the Buddhist teachings, the Dhamma teachings and Vipassana and all that, it was very much about suppressing the masculine. It's like, because you focus so much on the feminine, so much on that allowing part and just observing, don't react. And, that becomes totally out of balance, especially if you're very serious about it, the way I was for 8-9 years. And meditating a lot, many hours, like every day at least a couple of hours. But if you're in a retreat, like the whole day, you would just meditate. And there's nothing wrong with that, to do that for a certain time, maybe. and some of us need that because we come from that very masculine and very like thinking, planning, action taking mindset. And when that's out of balance, we just create a mess, we don't get anywhere. So it is good to meditate, and I recommend meditating every morning, but 10, 15 minutes, maybe an hour if you're really feeling good and into it. But not as like a lifestyle, okay? Not like I'm gonna just live in a cave and meditate. Like, for me, that's not why we're here, that's not why I'm here anyway. And you make up your own mind. If you want to meditate in a cave for the rest of your life, you're welcome to do so. You're free, You're totally free to do whatever you want, but... So I've been sort of, since my Vipassana days, I've been very silent, okay? Because that's what I learned. That was like the core teaching I got from when I was 19 years old, was to be very still, very peaceful, very loving, very giving and so forth, so feminine. And I really, really went deep into that for so many years. And I was part of the Vipassana organization, and it was very deep. I was even a children's course teacher just in the final months I was there. So, but then I just felt really out of whack, like I felt like I'm just doing all these things, but I'm not getting anywhere. I feel like I'm just an ant in a big anthill, but and that's kind of what happens with the feminine, okay? It's the beehive kind of mentality where everyone serves the queen. And what is the queen in the Vipassana center? Well, it's the teaching itself, Everyone is just giving up their egos just to serve the teaching. But that becomes out of balance, okay? And we are created to be much more in control of our own lives, not to give all this power away to this sort of beehive queen, which is the teaching, which we can discuss, like how accurate that teaching is, but the way that we believe when we're in that mindset, which Burma and India have been for a long time, it's changing now, but it's kind of, if you look into spiral dynamics, the blue stage, which is all about, being obedient and authority, hierarchies, and it's coming out of chaos, It's coming out of the red stage, which is very autocratic, violent. So it is balancing that, okay? But that's not where we are here. We're in a much higher place, sort of. Not that it's per se a better place. It's a different place. But we are ready now to really lead ourselves, okay? To balance ourselves, to awaken, and to lead. Everyone can lead themselves. We don't need this external paternalistic structures, okay? That then promotes the feminine to an excess, which then makes us sort of into sheep. So I'm sure if you're into this kind of things, you know what I'm talking about. And maybe just these few words from me can sort of open something up in your mind that it can get you moving. And if you're maybe new to spirituality, you're coming from a different angle, that you have been trying a lot of things, a lot of techniques, a lot of tools, maybe manifestation, maybe more into business, maybe into different strategies and so forth, but it's not really giving the results you want, and it's because you're efforting, okay? You're not, so you're being too much masculine. So you need to bring that back and to feel into your intuition and so being in nature for you would be great, and feeling into these feminine energies. So we need both, and they need to be balanced. And meditating and aligning every morning will help you to feel into that and to be connected to your higher intuition and your higher self and source and God and all that. So it's a very, very, very powerful perspective what I'm presenting to you. So don't take this lightly. Okay, try to understand what I'm saying. And if you feel like there's something here for you and you don't get it, just email me and I'll be happy to get on a call with you and we can work on it from your perspective. Because depending on where you are, if you're what energies need to balance, and I will feel that from you as we talk, because now that my energies are balanced, like it's very easy for me to discern what's what, okay? but it's sort of different for everybody. But what I see a lot with, because most of you guys who are watching this are male and you're between like 24 and 44, and most of you have gone through some kind of awakening experience, so you're usually leaning more feminine, okay? And in a good way, like you're creating that balanced feminine foundation, which I think is the structure that we need to then be able to go and balance the masculine, okay? At least how I see it now. But so if you're coming from that place which the people I've been working with lately, they're coming from that place, then the key here is to bring in more masculine, okay? So you want to start to put a little more intention into what you do, and you want to maybe set some like simple goals, or like put things on your calendar and start to create integrity, you know? The things you say that you will do those, you know? But make it simple. Pick the low-hanging fruits, and more importantly, pick the things that excite you. Pick the things that you're passionate about, but that's not overwhelming. That's easy to do. Things that you can sit down and think through it, you know? Like, you might really want to climb a mountain, for example. Just an example, it can be anything. But you really want to climb a mountain, but there's a lot of resistance about it, okay? So you just never get to it. There's just other things that distract you and you get lost. So to bring some divine masculine into that, or balanced masculine into that, would be to set an intention. Well, I want to climb this particular mountain, for example. And then you have to ask yourself, well, am I really ready to do this mountain? Or is it too much for me right now? Is it feeling like too much of a resistance, like I wouldn't really do it? Then choose something a bit simpler but similar, something to step you in that direction to where one day you can climb that mountain, okay? So maybe start with going on a hike, you know, near where you are. And then after you've done that, and raise the bar a little bit more, and raise the bar a little bit more. But always with that aligned feeling of inspiration, inspired action, okay? So this is what we're coming to here. Because what happens when your feminine is very strong, so you are very loving towards yourself, and you're very intuitive, you're very in tune with your emotions, you feel into yourself from moment to moment. When you have that foundation, and then you have the balanced masculine, then you get inspired action and you act on inspired action. So the balanced masculine will take you beyond fear, okay? So what everyone says about fear is, you know, if you're afraid of something, face your fear, just do it, you know? But actually, that's not the best advice, okay? That's coming from someone who doesn't really understand this balance, because it's very delicate, okay? Of course, you can experiment with it and try things, and don't worry about it, you know, it's not so serious, but it's delicate in the sense that when you start overdoing it, you lose your touch with your intuition, okay? With the good feeling and your connection to source, okay? So you want to do things in alignment with source, connected with source, and still from your own heart, from your own soul, and to really follow your inspiration with action, without fear, okay? And that will happen, you know, the fearlessness, it comes from awakening, okay? It comes from really knowing who you are and seeing the bigger perspective, okay? So that, I would say, is like it's a process, okay? So awakening is a process, and you will have a permanent shift at some point. And when that happens, it's sort of a divine timing, gift from heaven kind of thing. So don't worry about it. Just keep improving yourself. And so you work with deeper consciousness things like meditation or psychedelics, and you get those insights, and then you start to realize who you really are at a higher level, that you are actually God, you are one with God. And this one being, and what comes with that, the love, you know, you realize that everything is love. Every experience you have is here to support you, even the most negative, darkest ones, you know, and I've been through it. So I can tell you, like, you can transmute anything. There's nothing you can't transmute, there's nothing you can't change, but it takes that divine masculine to sort of face that, okay? The balanced masculine, and what emerges is the divine masculine. and with the support of the Divine Feminine. Okay, so they both, I hope that this video starts to show you the interplay between the two and how important they both are. So for me, that's what happened with, so a good example is this YouTube channel. So for years, I've been wanting to do something on YouTube. I started making a few videos when I was like 19, when I started Vipassana, and I talked about Vipassana, and then I stopped because they started complaining about it. They started saying like, no, you're not supposed to do that, you're not a teacher, blah, 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 right? So that paternalistic Vipassana tradition. Okay, so I stopped because my aspiration was to really serve and to help Vipassana spread, because I really felt it meant so much to me at that time. And I was hoping to one day become an assistant teacher myself. And to be that, you really have to be like really on board with the whole idea that they have. Otherwise, you'll never be a teacher, you know. So I stopped making videos, and then I've been on and off a little bit. But the last years, 1 or 2 years, I've been really like wanting to do it really intently. But I've been so much into that feminine energy and holding back and being silent and being like preparing myself. But then the shift happened, okay? So I had my permanent shift, my permanent awakening. And after that, it just felt, it was so easy because I faced my deepest fears, okay? God helped me, Source helped me to face my deepest fears, because I got that shift and then I was ready. I was ready to face it. So I did. So that's something internal, okay? I had to face it internally. And I have made a video about that. You can look at, I think, The Truth About Awakening, my permanent shift, something like that. I'll link it below, so just check the link. There'll be one video, and that's the one. And then it just became so easy. I just started making videos. I wasn't rushed about it, okay? There's a lot of energy that comes out in my first videos on this channel where I'm talking. And there's a lot of energy, but I didn't do it in a rushed way. I became very productive because I was so in alignment, okay? So I made a lot of videos, but it was very balanced. I had lots of rest in between. I have a lot of integration, like several days of integrations between most of the videos that I made. So every video I made, there would be insights and things coming to me, and then I would make another video, and in between there would be a lot of integration. So the feminine was very present and the masculine was very present. And to live that way is such an amazing, such a thrill, you know, it's such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And now that I'm starting to see this whole channel come together, and the views are increasing, the subscribers are increasing, and I'm getting one-on-one calls, you know, and that's increasing, and donations. I mean, it's... This shows you alignment, you know, and these energies, how they play together and how powerful they are. Because it's you're one with your higher inspiration, you're taking action, you're not being afraid, and you're doing what's your thing to do, okay? Your mission here on earth, your purpose is to do whatever calls you in the moment in that way, but stemming from the divine feminine and the divine masculine when they emerge from you like that. So yeah, it's an incredible thing. It's really an incredible thing. And every week or every day, I'm discovering new things like this. And then I share it with you. Like, this is quite new for me. I didn't have this perspective at all before my shift. I didn't realize these things, okay? I had glimpses, you know, I had hunches about it, but I didn't really understand it, okay? So, but after shifting, like, everything changes, okay? Because your discernment, your clarity is out of this world, okay? It's just different, it's like divine. So when you get to that stage, it's gonna be easy, you know, or much easier to understand it. But I hope with this video, because when I'm working with one-on-one chosen ones, then I see, you know, they're picking up these things and they can just feel it off of me. So if you're watching my videos, you're gonna feel it. Every video I've made the past 2-3 months, since I shifted, all of those, you'll get this energy from me, this balanced energy, okay? And it's very good for you to feel into this, and then you start tuning yourself to this frequency, because now you have an example, okay, a living example. And if you interact with me one-on-one, you'll feel it more. You don't have to, okay? I'm not pushing anyone here. I'm just inviting you, like, if you feel called, because I know most of you are young male, and most of you are coming from that very good divine feminine structure, but you want to have more masculine, okay? So that's why I'm saying reach out to me. That's the masculine. I'm calling for the masculine in you to reach out to me. And even if you're a female, you know, reach out to me. Doesn't matter, you know. I can help you balance your feminine energy and your masculine energy, whichever it is you need help with, and we can explore that when we're talking, okay? If you want, when you're ready. But I know there are a lot of you watching, and I know there are a lot more of you who could be reaching out to me, so I'm just offering this as an invitation, okay? So if you're ready, when you're ready, please, I have plenty of time to help you and to schedule a call for you, and it's all donation based, by the way. So you give if you want to give, and as much as you want to give, you know, I don't mind. You know, I'm just here to serve, and I'm just happy to reach out to you people because you are chosen ones. You're very special people, and you are where I have just recently been. Okay, so I can give you some hints, some guidance, basically, to empower you to live your life in the way that you want to live it. You know, to be free. This is really freedom. Okay, when you are in such alignment, in such balance with your masculine and feminine energies, and the divine starts coming through you, that's real freedom, and that's exhilarating. Okay, this is like the best way to live, and you can do it any way you want. See, it's not about climbing mountains or making YouTube videos. You know, that's one way to do it. There's countless ways of doing it. We're infinite. We're totally infinite as beings. But you are supported and you're loved, and we're all here to help you. Okay, so subscribe. Ask me any questions in the comments if you have any, or send me an email. If you want to work one-on-one, I'm here for you. Just send me an email from the About page. If there's anyone who you think might resonate with this, please share this video with them. And yeah, that's it for today. All right, love you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end here. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.